Well, let's take a look at traffic conditions across the country, particularly where we expect high traffic volumes of travellers coming back. The Border Management Authority is continuing to monitor the return of travellers through the Beitbridge border post in Musina. Commissioner Mike Masiapato is leading the team that is assessing the processing of travellers. The border post is the busiest land port of entry into the country. Katlego Nyoni joins us now live from Beitbridge border post. Katlego, let's take a look at what those gate traffic numbers are at this hour. Of course, we expect that to pick up more so on Monday when a lot of travellers will be coming back into the country. But one would assume that the numbers have already picked up.
Good afternoon there, Oliver. As you can see from our opening shot there, we've got a drone, which is a part of the sophisticated technologies recently procured by the Border Management Authority. We decided to make this the opening shot so we could potentially demonstrate to our viewers before I get into the statistics, because we are stationed today at the border post where the Border Management Authority has been on site at the Beitbridge border post, essentially monitoring the movement of people. The volumes of people, Oliver, have certainly picked up. They now report that between 22,000 and 25,000 people have been processed so far at this port of entry alone. However, that is not the only one. The highest currently sits at 28,000 people that are being processed, that being the OR Tambo International Airport. Of course, this as the return phase by the Border Management Authority accelerates, we're going to ask the drone pilot to demonstrate for our viewers. That's praising Chikoba, just to show our viewers essentially what you can do now. From the information we've received, the altitude for this particular drone can reach up to 400 meters, and it is an Autel Pro Max drone, which is essentially used to monitor the vulnerable segments along the borderline. You of course know that there is that Limpopo River, and some segments of the borderline are deemed as hotspots. Now, the BMA, working together with other stakeholders, including the SANDF, have deployed more boots on the ground to essentially ensure that border security is not compromised. We're going to talk to the Border Management Authority Commissioner, Dr. Masiapato. Thank you very much for your time. We understand that this is part of your technologies that you have deployed at the border post to essentially deal with illegal immigration.
Yeah, no, thank you very much, Katlego. Yeah, yes, indeed, this is one of the technologies that we have deployed around the ports of entry. As you will remember, we do have 4 of this kind of drones. We have fairly deployed them on our 4 top ports, and those deployments are based on the risk analysis that we do. And we also just want to indicate that in as much as the drone is here, we basically move them around depending on the areas of concern across the ecosystem, but we mainly deploy them around our land ports of entry. It is a very key, I will say, an enabler in terms of the work that we do, primarily because we no longer do just normal patrols, which are mainly done in the dark, whereby you find that we have to be driving vehicles up and down in terms of the vulnerable areas and end up just consuming a lot of gasoil for nothing. So what we effectively do is to deploy them, to deploy the drone on air and ultimately be able to guide our response teams on the ground, whereby they do direct interceptions exactly when people are attempting to enter the country illegally.
Now, we see that today at the Beitbridge border post. Of course, this must be similar pictures that we're getting across the country at ports of entry in the country. The figures, talk to us about the figures in terms of the movement of people that are being processed in this return phase.
Yeah, in the return phase, as we generally indicate, we have our top 3 ports that are actually processing the majority. OR Tambo continues to lead. We processed just in the past 24 hours around 28,000. So on that basis, it is followed by Beitbridge, where we did around 22,400. And if you were to look at the third, it's Libombo, where we did around 21,000 just in the past 24 hours. So that is basically how the numbers are looking like. In terms of the other ports, we are looking at an average of around 16,000 in the past 3 days to yesterday through into overnight. And on that basis, we are hoping that today we consider it to be one of the first peaks in as far as the return leg that we are actually facilitating. Here at Beitbridge, we are at least thinking that today we will do around 25 to 30,000, and we think it will be the same around Libombo, but also OR Tambo will basically pass 30,000, as it is mostly the norm. So that is basically how the figures look like in as far as the facilitation is concerned. We also just want to confirm that in terms of our readiness and our preparedness and all of the various processing points that we have set up, everything is going according to plan, and we are satisfied up to this point in terms of the processing of people.
Just lastly, very briefly, interceptions, where are we? You've mentioned a figure 446, if I'm not mistaken. Just give us the correct figure of the interceptions so far since the start of the return leg, because during the exit phase, those figures were at 7,000.
Yeah, yes, indeed. In terms of the exit leg of the implementation, which was 10 December to 31st, we did over 7,152. And of course, if you were to look at the return leg, which started on the 1st of January to date, we talk about over 546 individuals that we have intercepted. And of course, the majority in this instance still remains the Basotho nationals. But of course, this time they are followed by Mozambique and then Zimbabwe. Here in Beitbridge, we have only done 15 interceptions, 15 interceptions. We have seen the number is going down here because of the levels of deterrent that we have started to indicate on the basis of the deployment of technology, but also on the basis of the response that we have put on the table. We have seen a significant reduction of individuals attempting to enter the country illegally through the vulnerable segments.
Dr. Masiapato, thank you very much for your time on the SABC News channel. That is the Commissioner there of the BMA, Dr. Mike Masiapato, talking to us about some of the advanced technologies that they have, which also include your armored vehicles with sophisticated tracking systems. They are currently at the Libombo border post, not here at the Beitbridge border post. However, they do have that drone, also mentioning that some of the statistics will be stationed at the Beitbridge border post throughout the better part of the day to bring our viewers the developments around the movement of people in the return phase. Oliver?
Katlego, thank you so much for that. Really do appreciate it. Katlego Nyoni, checking the traffic conditions of those returning from Zimbabwe into South Africa.